Eventually, the whispers faded, and the room fell silent. From that night onward, Ben began having strange, vivid dreams. In them, he was running through endless hallways of the house, the walls shifting and bending like a living creature. He could hear something chasing him, its guttural growls echoing behind him. In the dreams, he'd always end up at the door to the basement, a place his parents had told him to avoid because it was unsafe. Every morning, Ben woke drenched in sweat, convinced the house was alive. It wasn't long before Laura and Greg noticed changes in their son. Ben grew pale and lethargic, with dark circles under his eyes. He stopped eating much and spent hours sitting silently, staring out the window of his room. One night, Laura found him standing in the hallway outside his room, muttering to himself. When she touched his shoulder, he spun around with an expression she didn't recognize. His normally soft, brown eyes seemed darker, almost black, and filled with anger. "Leave me alone," he hissed in a voice that wasn't his. Terrified, Laura called Greg, who rushed over to calm their son. But when they turned to look at him again, Ben seemed normal. "What's wrong?" he asked, genuinely confused by their panic. One evening, Greg decided to investigate the basement. The strange noises they'd heard at night, the whispers, the faint scratching, seemed to originate from below. Armed with a flashlight, he descended the creaking stairs, leaving Laura upstairs to keep an eye on Ben. The basement was colder than expected, with an unexplainable dampness in the air. As Greg scanned the room with his flashlight, his beam landed on something strange, deep scratches carved into the walls, forming symbols he couldn't recognize. At the far end of the basement, he saw something that made his heart race.